getting to the final stretch here, our next team is the Portland Trailblazers. I have no idea what they're doing.
No clue whatsoever.
There's also Joe Cronin said that he's going to make changes to the roster and that this is an enhancement, not a rebuild, not a retooling, an enhancement.
What does that mean?
I think they still, to me, it means they're on the win now track, is what I think it means. What I don't know is how much power does he have to make a meaningful change to the roster if he still has the interim GM tag? I know he's been with the organization for a while, but forget about trading CJ McCollum. That's a wholesale decision. Is he going to have the power to do that? So the names I have sort of vary. Ben Simmons, if they can get in on him, and I don't know if I've talked to you about this. I know that Philly's not interested in CJ McCollum. If you're Philly, if the package is Norman Powell, Nance, picks, and swaps, are you not kind of intrigued by that? Because Nance is still under contract next year. Norman Powell, 5 years, $90 million, not steep for him with the way he's playing. And if you have picks and swaps, because look, the ship has sailed on anyone who thought McCollum for Ben Simmons was the deal. McCollum was not good enough this year, and it was iffy to even suggest a straight up swap there. There's going to need to be other stuff from Portland going to Philly if that's the move. So if you're Philly and you have Powell, Nance, picks, swaps, those are assets, if you needed to, that I think you can turn around and package together should another star become available. And I have other names for the Blazers, but if you're Philly, is that not? I know Norman Powell's not a star, but how much better are the Sixers after making that deal?
Significantly better.
I guess Ben Simmons is a zero right now, so that's an unfair question. But
it's just tough to wrap my head around anything involving those two teams because I have no clue what Portland's doing and I have no clue what Philly's doing. And there's just like such a mystery element when we put them together in the same transaction. But yeah, I mean, theoretically, it makes sense. I also still think that a package including more than just McCollum makes sense. And I know you said the ship has sailed there, but like I'm still not sure that it should have for Philadelphia because the idea of McCollum at peak value does make sense with Embiid and the rest of the roster construction. But is Philly still holding out for so much more that a package headlined by Powell and Nance, like it just isn't going to do it? I don't know. I have no idea.
So yeah, that was just my thought. It's not an egregious suggestion though, right?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
No, it makes sense. But I don't know that either of these organizations is in the business of making sense right now.
So one of the other names is more interesting than the other two. What if an enhancement means sort of what the Raptors did last year, but they're not, maybe they're doing the same thing this year? The 1 year tank. This year's over. Our draft pick is protected, so we're going to keep it. They've just decided that they're going to keep it. And we're going to trade for someone who's not healthy right now and won't actually help us win games. I don't know what the cost proposition is to get him, but Jonathan Isaac from Orlando, I don't even know if he would be available. I just have his name there because they need not a Rocco, not even a Nance, not guys who are good team defenders or just smart defenders. Nance he's way better of a defender than Rocco, but they need a defensive anchor, and it's not Nurkic when you want to play this aggressively.
No, it's not.
Isaac, a healthy Isaac, his value would have to be all over the place. I don't even know what you give up together. It was just a thought I had, is if they're punting on this year.
The only qualm that I have, because I like that idea, is how you actually do a 1 year tank if you're Portland. Because Damian Lillard alone is going to make sure
for 4 years. You shut him down and you tell him to have surgery on his abdominal injury. That's how you 1 year tank.
And if you tell Damian Lillard to shut it down and that you don't want him to play basketball when he's already thinking about an exit, what are you doing to the long-term health of your organization? Because that's where I was going with this. Is like, if he's playing, you're too good to truly tank. If he is not playing, not of his own volition, you are setting the stage for an actual trade request.
Here's an interesting question. Looking at what assets they would have to, and what's interesting, I think, if you're Orlando, is you might be getting the first allowable Portland draft pick, I think, is 2024. And depending on the protection of that, that's mega intriguing because you don't know what's going to happen with Dame. Looking at what they would give up to match the salary, and whatever accommodate Nasir Little has to be involved in that. Who are you giving up in that deal that you think is going to make the Blazers substantially worse, knowing you're getting back a player who won't immediately be playing for you?
Not sure that you really are.
Unless it's Norman Powell, color me unconcerned.
Yeah, which just... Yeah, and I guess that makes it make more sense because you're not really tanking. You're just not taking a step forward in the immediate present.
Right. And then it puts you in a situation where maybe it's a little bit easier to tank should Damian Lillard need some rest or be open to some rest or something.
If he's open to it, then by all means.
So I just have two lower scale names for them. They need big help and they need better rim protection. I don't know if either. I think Mitchell Robinson was one. I think he would be better in the aggressive defensive scheme that they're playing. Mo Bamba was the other. He's cooled off from 3. And I don't know that you want him in an ultra aggressive defensive scheme, but it's someone who can help you around the rim. He's been a really good rim protector this year. So
I don't really love the fit with Bamba.
You have Nance too, which I think makes this sort of ring hollow, but I do think they could use it. I wouldn't give up would I give up Nurkic for Mitchell Robinson? The salaries are so disparate. Maybe I wouldn't, but I think Mitchell Robinson would be more valuable to the Blazers defense. Well, more valuable to the Blazers because of his defense, even though he's kind of sucked. All over the place here, but they don't necessarily need to trade for another big. If they want a big that's going to be a better fit for their defensive scheme, I'm absolutely looking at like a Mitchell Robinson.
What about like Pirtle?
Can he be in like the super aggressive scheme though?
Maybe. We haven't really seen it in San Antonio, but I think that there's enough to plumb that it would be worth a shot.
I wonder does Nerlens Noel make sense for this team then because of his mid-end salary and it's like just somewhere in between?
I don't think so because he's such a negative on offense that you're just foisting even more responsibility onto the backcourt, which we've seen in the past doesn't work.
Yeah, they're a tough team to come up with targets for because do we just suggest a bunch of young guys because this is an enhancement or does enhancement mean we're going to make the all-in type play?
Couldn't tell you.
So I have a trade idea. I wanted to wait till we got to this team to throw it at you. Would you do? It's Warriors Portland, and just before I don't want maybe even let's go through the next team while you mull on it. CJ McCollum and Larry Nance Jr. for Andrew Wiggins and Kevon Looney, and maybe you have to give up like, it was Andrew Wiggins and James Wiseman. That was the trade. It wasn't Kevon
for McCollum and who?
Larry Nance Jr.
No, I don't think that that's feasible from the Warriors' perspective, especially with McCollum in the midst of not the greatest year. What Wiggins does on both ends aligns with the direction of this organization just way more.
Clay coming back doesn't...
I don't think so. If anything, it makes it more redundant to have McCollum.
As someone who can create his own shot?
As someone because Clay is going to theoretically have a bigger offensive role by virtue of the spacing that he brings as an off-ball threat, if you're minimizing the ability to even have those kickouts because you're adding another attack-first player.
I think McCollum would probably be a better fit. I get where you're coming. I would be more concerned with his contract. What does that look like? He has 3 years left on his deal at a pretty hefty price tag. But I was wondering, Nance on the Warriors would be a perfect fit.
Would be really fun.
That would.
And I like a smaller scale move for just him, if you can pull that off. And I don't know how that happens.
It would have to be Looney and salary. Like, would you even give up Wiseman for Larry Nance Jr.? I guess Warriors fans would probably drag me through the trenches for suggesting that one, but
they probably will.
I'm just because the Blazers, if they're going to make any sort of move, you do have to start. What is CJ McCollum's value on the trade market? I hope he recovers from his collapsed lung, by the way. And my guess is that he's going to be better moving forward when he's healthy than we've seen. He is. Would he not, in those non-Steph minutes, though, be an absolute killer fit?
Absolutely.
So it's just really the Wiggins cost evaluation.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I thought, was it at least a trade? You didn't even think about the trade.
No, I didn't really hesitate.
I guess it wasn't a good one. I thought it was just like, okay, Wiseman and Wiggins for McCollum and Nance. I thought it was one at least worth thinking about. Apparently not. I'm going to go.
Sorry.